You know that voice inside, the one that says, forget them, move on. Yet every morning you wake up still thinking about that person. Why does every notification on your phone make your heart skip a beat, even though they've hurt you? Why do you catch yourself replaying old messages, hoping just once you could hear from them again? It feels as if part of you is trapped in the past, unwilling to let go. But what if the reason you're still holding on isn't about them at all, but about you? I've been there too. There's something profound about heartbreak that forces us to stare into the mirror of our own soul. Carl Jung, the great Swiss psychiatrist, taught that which we do not confront in ourselves we will meet as fate. In other words, the people we cling to are often reflections of the parts of us that we refuse to face. This video isn't about cheesy slogans like, just forget about it, or fake it till you make it. It's about a deep, honest dive into your own psyche. Together, we'll explore why you feel so tied to someone who hurts you, and how that pain can actually be the gateway to finding yourself. By the end of this journey, you'll see that letting go isn't just cutting ties with someone else. It's reclaiming the most important relationship of all, the one with yourself. We'll weave together powerful insights from Carl Jung and kindred thinkers like Viktor Frankl, Erich Fromm, and even Alan Watts. You'll hear real-life examples, supportive quotes, and reflections that might sting a little, because truth often does. But they'll also offer the balm you need. If any of this already resonates, I invite you to engage. Comment below with one thing you feel ready to release, or simply share this video to remind someone else they're not alone. By opening up now, you prepare yourself to truly dive deep. Are you ready to uncover the truth about your pain and begin healing? Many of us grow up thinking that the person who hurts us must be a terrible individual. But Jung taught us to consider another perspective. Often, we projected our own unmet needs and ideals onto them. When you first fell for this person, you weren't really seeing who they were. You were seeing a reflection of your own desires. In Jungian terms, each intense attraction is anima or animus projection, the hidden feminine or masculine archetype in your unconscious that you've been searching for. Maybe you needed a strong protector, a charming lover, or a nurturing mother figure. The moment you met them, it felt like destiny, because deep down they embodied that ideal you longed for. But of course, they're human, not a myth. As reality sets in, cracks appear in the image. The things you loved in them, patience, affection, validation, are not true gifts from them, but shadows of what you yearn to give yourself. Jung would say, the love you feel was real, but it was born from your shadow and wishful fantasy, not from who they actually are. In fact, Jung warned that the best political, social, and spiritual work we can do is to withdraw the projection of our shadow onto others. Imagine that every time we blame the other for our pain, we're really pointing at parts of our own psyche that we refuse to see. Think about it. Maybe you always wanted someone who understood you, but instead of discovering how to understand yourself, you found someone who seemed to get you and clung to that. Or maybe you needed to feel appreciated, so you attached to someone who gave you praise, thinking it was love. Once the praise dried up or turned to criticism, it felt like torture, not because you truly loved their voice, but because you loved what it represented, self-worth. What Carl Jung is saying is that the person you're holding on to was never the one in the way we think. They were the symbol of something missing inside you. On top of this, remember the persona, the mask you learned to wear in the world. From childhood, we play roles to feel loved and accepted. The good kid, the carer, the smart one. Jung defined the persona as the public image of someone, the mask we wear in public. It's how we adapt to our family, friends, culture. In relationships, you might have built a persona as the perfect partner, always agreeable, always strong, always accommodating. Every time you silenced your own needs, hid your tears, or agreed to things that made you uncomfortable, you drifted further from your true self. It's like you were wearing an invisible suit of armor of approval. The problem is that armor is suffocating you. Every time you bend over backwards to keep them happy, canceling your plans, suppressing your opinions, even downplaying your pain, you're essentially saying, I'm not who I truly am, I'm what you want me to be. Jung warned that when we begin to believe our mask, our authentic identity evanesces until it becomes practically unrecognizable. So now, in a relationship, you're holding on to someone who only sees that mask. If they also have a persona, then you were both playing a part. When reality finally broke the script, you were left grasping at the facade, not the person. Let's bust some myths. Maybe you've told yourself, no matter what, I'll fight for them because that's true love. But ask yourself, whose love is it? The love you feel for that mask, or love for the actual, flawed human? If it's the former, know that what you're experiencing isn't selfless love, it's deep emotional need masked as love. Erich Fromm, a great psychologist, would say that mature love involves giving freedom, not clinging. He even contrasts immature love, I love you because I need you, with mature love, I need you because I love you. Right now, it's likely the first one, a sign that your heart is hungry, not that your soul is whole. Can you see now that maybe it was never truly about that person? You missed the illusion, the idea that someone would rescue or complete you. But as long as you see them as your savior, you're trapped in a cycle of need. Jung's insights suggest that before we can move on, we must first understand this. The other person is reflecting a mirror of our inner world. That thought might hurt. It shifts responsibility off of them and turns the mirror on ourselves, but it's also powerful truth. We've laid bare the first mirror to look into, the mirror of projection and persona. You might be thinking, if it's all about me, why does this still hurt so much? That's exactly what we'll explore next. Because understanding this pattern alone won't magically stop the pain. We need to dive deeper. Take a deep breath and notice your anxiety, the tightness in your chest, the restless nights, the obsession checking your phone. This isn't random, it's a signal. In Jungian terms, your psyche is fragmented. On one side, there's the false self screaming for their love. It learned early that without them, I'm nothing. On the other, the true self is starving for attention. It's the part of you that yearns to be genuine, vulnerable, and free from mask and fantasy. Jung taught that when such internal dissonance occurs, anxiety is the alarm system of the soul. This isn't just psychological fluff. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who survived the Holocaust, put it simply: when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. You can't force your ex or whoever to be someone else, but you can change how you respond. Frankl reminds us that even when everything else is taken from us, we still have the freedom to choose our attitude and meaning. Those unanswered texts and broken promises have pushed you to a point. You now must look inward. What's happening inside? Imagine two parts of you at war. One part is terrified of being alone, clinging to every scrap of affection. The other part is suffocating because you've compromised who you are. This war manifests as panic attacks, insomnia, heart palpitations, the mind and body screaming for integration. In Jung's words, each moment of silence or absence is not just pain. It becomes a collapse of your ego's fantasy, and each criticism or lack of acknowledgement feels like a crushing rejection. So anxiety is not your enemy. It's the messenger saying, something is very wrong here. To put it another way, consider what Alan Watts, a wise philosopher, said about clarity. Muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone. When your mind is churning with thoughts, replaying arguments, imagining reunions, bargaining with fate, it's like stirring that water. By constantly thinking about them, you keep the emotional soup murky. Watts suggests that instead of forcing a fix, sometimes peace comes by quieting the mind. In practice, this might look like stepping back, not checking their social media, not interrogating yourself about every detail. It's hard, but giving yourself even a moment of quiet allows clarity to begin. Meaning in suffering. Frankl, again, believed in finding meaning in suffering. In Man's Search for Meaning, he wrote, in some ways, suffering ceases to be suffering at the moment it finds a meaning, such as the meaning of a sacrifice. Perhaps this suffering is your sacrifice, the necessary letting go of something false to make room for truth. When you embrace that perspective, that tightness in your chest starts to feel less like a curse and more like a wake-up call. It's telling you, live your own life. Answer this challenge by choosing yourself. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate, a paraphrase of Jung's idea. Right now you might feel resigned. Maybe this is just my fate to suffer for love. Jung would ask what unconscious patterns are at play. If you make them conscious by acknowledging your own role in creating this pain, then you take back power. Pause for a moment. Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now beyond just hurt? Is it fear, shame, anger at losing control? Each answer is a clue. Write it down if you want. This process of naming and feeling might hurt, but it's how the unconscious comes up to meet consciousness. Invite those feelings in rather than pushing them away. This kind of honest self-listening is exactly what Frankl meant by choosing your attitude. You're choosing to face reality no matter how painful. At this point, something important should be clear. The battle isn't with them. The real struggle and the real freedom lies within you. So how do you use this insight to actually let go? The answer is found in the final stretch of our journey, embracing who you truly are and rebuilding yourself step by step. Jung called the journey you're on individuation, becoming a whole, authentic person. He taught that individuation is the realization of the self, the core of who you are, free from the masks of the persona and the tyranny of the shadow. Think of it like this. You've been living with one foot out the door, carrying someone else's demands and fear. Individuation is about finally standing solid on your own 2 feet. Remember in the intro, I said this pain might feel like a mirror. Now it's time to look closely into it. Ask, what did I sacrifice to keep this person in my life? What parts of me did I ignore? Maybe you gave up time with friends, your hobbies, saying what you truly felt all to be seen by them. These answers hurt because they're the parts of yourself you've neglected, but they're also clues to reclaiming who you really are. Actionable steps. Let's get practical. Healing isn't passive. Here are some steps you can start taking today. Write it out. Grab a notebook or your phone. A letter to that person that you will never send. Pour out everything: love, pain, anger, gratitude. This act is cathartic. It lets those emotions run free onto the page. Set one boundary. If you text them, try not texting for a week. If you want to see them often, stop going for now. Each no or not yet to them is a yes to yourself. These boundaries teach you that your peace and autonomy are worth respecting. Reconnect with yourself. What have you always wanted to do but put aside? Pick up a hobby, go for walks in nature, meditate, or simply take a long bath. Frankl said we find purpose not by demanding love, but by dedicating ourselves to causes and self-growth. Discover small things that bring you joy or meaning, independent of anyone else's presence. Seek support. Talk to a friend, family member, or therapist about what you're feeling. Sometimes voicing the pain takes away some of its power. You might find others have walked this path and can share wisdom or just a listening ear. You now know the shadow, the dark parts we've hidden, is at play. Perhaps you denied feeling angry. Today, say it out loud or in writing. I am angry about what happened. Or maybe you denied your neediness. Admit it. I want to feel loved. Facing these hidden truths is courageous work. Jung said that neglected qualities, if left unacknowledged, will burst forth suddenly in some form. By consciously accepting them now, you prevent that explosion. Each small act of honesty and self-care is like laying bricks for a new foundation. When you feel tempted to call them, remind yourself, I respect myself enough not to chase this. I deserve respect and honesty. It may help to write a mantra or two. For example, I release what no longer serves me, or I am whole without this relationship. Speak these quietly whenever the old fears bubble up. Erich Fromm said, love is union with somebody outside oneself, under the condition of retaining the separateness and integrity of one's own self. Take that literally. The healthiest love you can experience starts with loving yourself enough to keep your integrity. If you find yourself thinking, I need them to be happy, you're describing immature love. Mature love, as Fromm puts it, is feeling, I need you because I love you, not the other way around. Right now, work on being the person you love, the friend you need. Shower yourself with the compassion you freely gave to that person. By now, you might feel both exhausted and lighter. Remember, this is not an overnight fix. Individuation is a process. You'll likely have days when grief returns. But each day you choose your well-being over old patterns, you chip away at that bond. Eventually, you'll stand on a new, stronger ground. What we've talked about isn't just a personal story, it's a human story. Jung believed that the dynamics you're experiencing are archetypal, part of the collective unconscious. Every culture has myths about lovers who are mirrors or bonds that must be broken. When we individually free ourselves from these patterns, we contribute to a collective change. Imagine if more people did this work. Relationships would begin to be based on authenticity rather than need, reducing pain on a broad scale. Look around. Our society often tells us to stay together at all costs, or that being single is tragic. But if everyone blindly followed toxic relationships for the sake of appearances, we'd all live divided lives. Maybe this is why issues like depression and anxiety have become so common. Jung would say these are signs of collective shadow at work, societies in denial of individual truth. By reclaiming our own truths, we chip away at that collective shadow. Philosophers like Alan Watts and writers like Joseph Campbell remind us that letting go isn't just an end, it's part of the hero's journey. In mythology, heroes often must leave home or sacrifice love to fulfill their destiny. In everyday life, your pain can be the catalyst that forces you to step up and become your own hero. Viktor Frankl's life itself is an example. Faced with unimaginable suffering, he found meaning and later taught that meaning can transform even our darkest moments into triumphs. Over time, you'll notice something beautiful. As you fill your world with self-acceptance and purpose, others will naturally come to you from a different place. Not everyone will understand this journey, but those who stick around will be people who accept the real you. And you will no longer chase after people who only wanted your mask. The long-term reward of this work is a life built on genuine connections. Maybe dive deeper, read Jung's writings on the shadow, or watch lectures on love by Fromm or Watts. Think about how letting go is a theme in spiritual traditions, e.g., Buddhism's teaching on non-attachment or Christianity's lose your life to find it. Your story could even inspire others. We live in a culture of instant gratification, but love and truth often require patience. As you move on, consider mentoring or supporting someone else who is stuck in a similar loop. Sharing your journey can help transform pain into purpose. Remember, what you've learned is not only valuable for you, but for every person you help along the way. In Jungian terms, when one person brings their shadow into light, the whole collective consciousness brightens a bit. So what we have talked about isn't just a personal story, it's a human story. Jung believed that the dynamics you're experiencing are archetypal, part of the collective unconscious. Every culture has myths about lovers who are mirrors or bonds that must be broken. When we individually free ourselves from these patterns, we contribute to a collective change. Imagine if more people did this work. Relationships would begin to be based on authenticity rather than need, reducing pain on a broad scale. Look around. Our society often tells us to stay together at all costs, or that being single is tragic. But if everyone blindly followed toxic relationships for the sake of appearances, we'd all live divided lives. Maybe this is why issues like depression and anxiety have become so common. Jung would say these are signs of collective shadow at work, societies in denial of individual truth. By reclaiming our own truths, we chip away at that collective shadow. Philosophers like Alan Watts and writers like Joseph Campbell remind us that letting go isn't just an end, it's part of the hero's journey. In mythology, heroes often must leave home or sacrifice love to fulfill their destiny. In everyday life, your pain can be the catalyst that forces you to step up and become your own hero. Viktor Frankl's life itself is an example. Faced with unimaginable suffering, he found meaning and later taught that meaning can transform even our darkest moments into triumphs. Over time, you'll notice something beautiful. As you fill your world with self-acceptance and purpose, others will naturally come to you from a different place. Not everyone will understand this journey, but those who stick around will be people who accept the real you. And you will no longer chase after people who only wanted your mask. The long-term reward of this work is a life built on genuine connections. Maybe dive deeper, read Jung's writings on the shadow, or watch lectures on love by Fromm or Watts. Think about how letting go is a theme in spiritual traditions, e.g., Buddhism's teaching on non-attachment or Christianity's lose your life to find it. Your story could even inspire others. We live in a culture of instant gratification, but love and truth often require patience. As you move on, consider mentoring or supporting someone else who is stuck in a similar loop. Sharing your journey can help transform pain into purpose. Remember, what you've learned is not only valuable for you, but for every person you help along the way. In Jungian terms, when one person brings their shadow into light, the whole collective consciousness brightens a bit. We've taken a hard, honest look at love and hurt. We started with questions and fears, dived into Jung's wisdom, and walked out with new awareness. To recap the key insights, first, what felt like love was largely our own projections, that ideal partner we conjured in our mind. Second, our anxiety and pain were not weakness, but calls from our true self to come home. Third, letting go is not giving up, it's bravely choosing yourself, saying yes to your own life. Now, healing begins. It may not happen overnight, and that's okay. Jung would remind us that this path is a lifelong process. He even said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." What an invitation. You are being called to the most courageous act, becoming yourself. No matter how long you've been lost, you can always find yourself again. So here is the final, raw truth. You do not need someone who hurts you to feel alive. You needed to remember that your worth is not defined by another. The love you thought you lacked is already inside you. This pain is yours and yours alone to heal. Burying that bond is like clearing heavy anchor dragging you away from the shore of peace. It hurts, yes, as Frankl wrote, tears are the greatest of courage, but each tear washes away a bit of the old story. Choose yourself. Today, decide with all the strength of your soul that you will live from your truth. That means no more silent suffering to please someone else, no more shrinking yourself to fit into their life. From here on, let every boundary you set be a statement. I am worthy. I stand for my truth. Let every moment of silence instead of begging be you reclaiming your voice. Each time you say no when something feels wrong, say yes to your deeper self. What do you need to let go of to finally set yourself free? If you haven't already, write it down right now, or say it out loud, or simply carry that question in your heart. Remember, you have listeners here who understand. If this message hit home, share it, drop a comment, or reach out to someone you trust. You are not alone in this. In closing, let the words of Carl Jung echo in your mind. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Don't waste another day playing a part for someone who never saw you. Embrace this transformation. There is a raw, beautiful power in self-love and self-truth, and it's waiting for you on the other side of letting go. You can do this. Your true, whole self is ready to live again.